What's going on, everybody? This is an episode from the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast. Do you like podcasts and you want to see the full podcast? Make sure you check out the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast on all your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, among many others. But you're listening to the episode right here on YouTube, so make sure you hit that like button and below, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to NC Studios and NC Level Up for all your gaming needs. This is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. But also, along with that strong show, we did have a strong show in AEW Grand Slam. This was AEW Grand Slam Australia, and they were in it. They didn't do a stadium; they did an arena, and I'm very happy for them because. And once again, the international crowd once again puts us to shame. Even in an AEW show, the international crowd still puts us to shame because they were loud. They were in the arena. They were in because they was in Brisbane, Queens Island, Australia, and then they had the Brisbane Entertainment Center, which holds about 13,000 people, which I do believe, like I said, it's better when they did this day because it looked packed in there. I think they sold the thing out, and because originally I think it was supposed to be they were going to do in a stadium, but I do think if you just do big arenas, right, and you just do 13,000, 20,000 people like that, and they fill it up, and then it makes everything sound so much better. However, I don't know what the situation was when it came to the ring, because if you look at the ring at Grand Slam, it was noticeably small. It was not the 20 by 20 standard wrestling ring. There have been rumors saying that they had to go to an indie promotion to find a ring, and I don't know if they was using a small ring, but it was a significant amount of space that they had on the outside. They even had like these little ugly small ass tables that was in there too. I was like, why is the ring so small? I don't know if They couldn't get the ring or not. They had the ring skirts that fit on there, so I don't know if this is the only ring that they could have gotten ordered. But it was just a small ring, and when you're used to a 20 by 20, this looked like a 16 by 16. It looked like an indie ring. It didn't like the professional ring. But it kicks off with Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega taking on Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita, and automatically you knew. First of all, because the crowd loved Kenny Omega, and they kicked off. They had their match was about 20 something minutes because it's Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, so they was going to have that. And the finish came when Kenny Omega had to Takeshita up for the One Wing Angel, and then Will Ospreay comes on top of it with like his little uppercut that he does, and it comes right in time as he planted him for the One Wing Angel. And Takeshi takes the pin, which sets up a title match. You know it's going to set up a title match between him and Kenny Omega, which is going to have Kenny Omega beat Takeshi for that championship, which is going to have Kenny Omega and Okada champion for All In Texas in July. That's what they're building to. You know that's what they're building to, Omega and Okada. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, because, and then backstage, Will Ospreay challenged Kyle Fletcher to a steel cage match at Revolution, which comes up in March also. So that's coming up pretty soon. So I figured, okay, they're going to have their rubber match, but then Kenny Omega is going to have that match with Takeshita and win that, so he can have that all out in Texas. And I think that's going to be in the stadium. And if you want all out to sell numbers, you're going to have to do big matches, and that's going to be a big one. Mercedes Moné took on Harley Cameron, who is this newcomer. She's only been there for a couple of years, but Mercedes gave her a good match, and it's for the TBS Championship. She's been doing she plays like this little weird, I would say Sherry Lewis type character on AEW. She do the puppets, and then she like sings in the guitar, but she would just go into a dark trance, start singing some weird shit. That's what her character is, but she's only been doing this. She ain't been doing this for that long, but Mercedes carried to a decent matchup. And once again, Mercedes needs to change that ugly ass finisher she got. I can't stand it, and she needs to change it. But Mercedes picks up the win with that also. Then they had the Brisbane Brawl with the Death Riders, John Moxley and Cardio Casanoli taking on Cope and Jay White. I'm not gonna keep calling this man Cope. It's stupid. It's bad if we can't say Edge, but Adam Copeland is fine. However, in Australia, they loved Adam Copeland because I'm gonna tell you this: when he came out, they sat there, and as his music stopped, they pulled what they do with radio, and also and Cody Rhodes, they sung his whole song. They sung his song, and he deserves that. You know, it's a legend in the business, and it sounded great. Like they said, a whole arena of people in Australia, and they just sung his song, and it was great. The match is what you expect when it comes to these hardcore matches, and they fought out into the crowd. Adam Copeland took a balcony dive because he don't learn his lesson at all. at all. There was a point where, of course, Willie Hughes will get into the match, and he started whooping Jay Wright. And Jay Wright, after a while, no-sells it, and it gives him a Sister Abigail, as I call it. I forgot what Jay White calls it. But Moxley does put Copeland in a bully choke or sleeper choke, and Copeland passes out. And yeah, he passes out, which gives them the win, which looks like it's setting up for. Well, it is set up because that Revolution is going to be Moxley taking on Copeland. I have a scary feeling that Copeland going to win this championship. Now the question is, will Christian Cage cash in his thing on Copeland, and do we have that rivalry between Copeland and Christian for the AEW championship? I don't need that right now. I don't need these two XWE guys fight over the AEW championship, and they're older, in their 50s. Like, come on now. That's one thing we gotta do better. We also had another good matchup for the Continental Championship. Okada taking on Buddy Matthews, and you know we're in Australia, so Buddy Matthews was already hot on there, and fans was really buying into the fact that Buddy Matthews could beat Okada for the championship, and I'm glad that that's good for you because you're in Australia. You have a lot to be inspired by. But let me tell you something. This is Okada. He has to go and take on Kenny Omega in all in Texas. He don't have that championship on him, so he ain't winning. And the one reason why they sat there and thought that he had a chance is because he got the Rainmaker and kicked out the Rainmaker. Buddy Matthews kicked out the Rainmaker, but that was the first one. But it got the crowd all popped up for that. But then again, after he hit it the second time, no, it wasn't. Like later on into the match, because like I said, they had a couple good near falls, especially that Buddy Matthews did the superplex into a jackhammer, which I thought was dope. To Okada, but Okada kicked out. But still, Okada does win the match again with the the Haymaker, the Rainmaker, excuse me. And then it's going to be him and Omega, champion and champion. Maybe they'll even fuse the championships at Grand Slam, but that's what they're building up to. Then because of where we're at in Australia, they had it as the main event, and it was Timeless Tony Storm taking on Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship. So I really like the story of Mariah May and Tony Storm, and I love how Timeless Tony Storm is back, and that she did the Tony Storm angle as acting. It was just all great. However, I do believe it's time for the story to end, and towards the end, there were a couple good near falls, but then they started what I call Rock and Cena from WrestleMania 29. They start spamming finishers, and when they do that, it takes me out of it. Especially when like Mariah May hit two back-to-back. What's the finisher? Just like that Michinoku driver or that Death Valley Michinoku driver type thing, and Tony Storm kicks out of him. She is when a Storm Zero kicks out of that. Mariah May can kick it out of Storm Zeros. I'm like, how many? And then Tony Storm wins with a roll-up. And it's just like, I don't like that. And once again, I think they're going to run this back at Revolution. They have to. And they can have a more decisive finish. But once that happens, they need to be done with that. It needs to be it. over Toni Storm and Mariah May. That's what it needs to be over from that point. And they got to move on to something else because they have been feuding for months with just since last year. It's just it just when it comes to it's either Mariah May has the title or Toni Storm has the title. And there's no other woman. I'm like, now you gotta get some fresh women. You gotta get some fresh faces up in that women's title picture because it's just been Mariah May and Toni Storm the whole time. So you have the final match at Revolution. You probably have Toni Storm beat Mariah May and go over, or maybe they just gave the field goal win because we're in Australia to Toni Storm, and maybe Mariah May gets the championship back, and then Toni Storm goes to does something else. But I don't see it that way. I think maybe Toni Storm holds it for, and they find a new challenger to take it off of her. Honestly, shit, if y'all will stop fucking with Athena and have her come up on there, I would love to see her do that or take Mercedes' belt. But y'all keep her down there with Ring of Honor. Like, please let her out her cage. Like, and I shouldn't even use the cage metaphor when we talk about black women. I'm talking about let her out. Stop this Ring of Honor shit. Let Athena be on AEW television. She's that great, and they can do that. But still, great show for AEW and for NXT. So overall, I think they both did good. I recommend if you can go back and try to look at any of them, do both of them.